welcome back to Tailored Talks. I am Brad, co-founder at OMJ and one of the co-hosts. Today, we're going to cover all things custom clothing.
Indeed.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing?
Doing well.
Doing well.
We also have a very special birthday today.
Yes. Happy birthday.
The old man.
But to my right, we have co-host Will Jones.
Hey, guys.
And then to Will's right, we have co-host Kendra Cheeseman.
Hi, how are y'all doing?
So a little bit of cleanup right off the top from last week or our last podcast was all things whiskey. So Kendra, we missed you, but
Yes, I don't.
Trey tried to fill in. But two things. People were asking about the Whiskey Club. So the Whiskey Club is something that is specific to OMJ Clothing. We have quarterly events. It's fun. If you go on our website, omjclothing.com, there's a link there. If you go on our social media, link in our profile, there's a link there. You can join. We'd love to have you. And then also I had questions about, people were asking, where did you get that bottle of Pappy Van Winkle? So I got that a long time ago, but we were actually giving it away. Today, actually, we're doing a raffle for all those that renewed in the Whiskey Club. They go into a raffle. So we're actually giving that away. I don't think anybody's ever just done that.
Someone's going to be real excited.
Yes. So,
Someone's selfless.
no. We believe in sharing, and we love the Whiskey Club that much. So that's my plug for the Whiskey Club. So today, a topic that is often very intimidating for a lot of folks, very nuanced. It's one of those things that a lot of people just assume are not for them. Custom clothing. So custom suiting, custom shirting, these are, custom is kind of used, and essentially what it is you're making something from scratch for you. So that could really apply to a lot of things, but in the clothing, we do pretty much everything in our store you can customize and make for you. At OMJ, we make it super simple. We're here to help. I feel like we have one of the best teams I've ever seen with custom clothing.
Here.
True experts. In fact, everybody's been here almost a full year.
Yeah.
And then everybody's who's here has, either like Kendra, 20 plus years in the industry, Will, who's, been best dressed since the second grade.
Can we do that?
Too kind. Much too kind.
So, normally I like to take a very humble approach with anything, but this is actually one of the topics I feel we're truly the best in. And not just maybe locally, regionally, but nationally. And so I'm excited to talk about it. We are going to do a lot of, I've, of course, been doing this a very long time on the details and all the things that go into behind the scenes. So you guys feel free to ask questions away, even if you kind of know the answer. And you think it'd be a great question for our listeners and watchers, ask the question as well. But I think hopefully we can just kind of share all the things that go into custom and then also make it something that people can get excited about and then come in and experience the OMJ experience with custom.
Yeah, it's perfect. So since we're talking about custom, maybe we can get a little bit into like what exactly, other than like you're picking out your styles, what entails custom suiting?
Right. And I think of this as like, custom is a very broad term. So it's more of like an identifier of I am custom making something. In custom clothing, custom suiting, shirting specifically, there's sort of levels. So, you have something off the rack, you're buying it in a store, taking it with you. You can get alterations. Then you have what's called made to measure or MTM. You'll see that. And that is something that is a garment that is sort of prefab off of a pattern. So if you're 40, they have that pattern and they can kind of make that at the factory. They can do some tweaks to it. So they can shorten the sleeves, lengthen the sleeves. They can take things in, let things out, nip and tuck here and there. And so if you're pretty close to a standard size, they can really dial that in. It's more expensive than off the rack, obviously, but it's, not as expensive as other makes.
You're definitely still leveling up, but
sure.
It's not, say, bespoke.
And also it's often like it's made to order too. So you can do some of those design things. You can pick your lining. You can pick your thread, put your name inside of it. So it is a well-made. It's something I kind of, usually, at a bare minimum, I recommend something like that. If you're not just hey, go get it off the rack, if you're wanting to invest, I would start there. And it's also something at OMJ we do made to measure. Sort of your next level would be, a variation of bespoke. So there are levels of bespoke too. Everybody's kind of heard of the Seville row. Yeah. Bespoke, they're making it at the store. There's a guy in the back. He's been doing it for 30, 40 years.
Cut on premise.
Yes, yeah. This is sort of like the pinnacle of suiting. But these are also $5,000, $10,000, multiple fittings. It's one of those things where it's not accessible to everybody.
Yeah.
So, for those that have the means, obviously, it's amazing.
And the turnaround process,
what do you think?
Because you'd have to be there for multiple fittings too.
Several months.
Where you'd have to stay.
Totally.
I wouldn't mind, but you'd have to have the financing to stay during that time.
Yeah. But very labor intensive.
Very labor intensive. Sure. And then you have sort of a notch under that, and what I would sort of call, and this is sort of the OMJ, what we really specialize in is we do actually make that pattern and then send that to a factory. So yes, we're not cutting it, although eventually I will be. My goal, I'll be cutting that in the back.
You've heard it here first.
maybe a few years from now. But you're getting that sort of same level of design, creativity, fit. With that, we're adjusting for everything. So if we're making the pattern, we're adjusting for posture. Your shoulders, are they sloped forward or are they sloped back? Do you have one arm or one shoulder sloped more than the other? Or you have high shoulders? Everything about that garment is constructed to you and it's made for you. So with OMJ, we're going to take your measurements. We're going to take your design. If you wanted one sleeve longer or one short sleeve, one long sleeve, one sleeve, a different color fabric than the other.
We've done that before.
Plenty of times. Sometimes it looks great. Hey, but we're able to do that because it is truly made from the pattern up. It is a bespoke garment. And that is going to be something that only a handful of folks really nationally and regionally are able to do. And really in the Southeast, there's not a lot that do it. It's usually going to be a version of made to measure or maybe an amped up version of made to measure. It's not going to be super on the detailed pattern making side of things. It's a lot, but it's a significant differentiator for us.
Yeah.
So I just want to call that out.
I think that's what makes it different too. When we're say we're in a custom fitting and we're talking about it, I think people really kind of perk up when you're you have your own pattern. And then followed up with, we can adjust your pattern as you adjust. And I think that kind of makes people go, what? Because it's really, they're not used to it. A lot of places, they're used to grabbing something off the rack that someone's tailoring it to them. But it's really nice to go, this is kind of your pattern, whatever we do going forward, whether it be a sport coat or a pair of slacks, we can kind of change things up for you as need be too.
Sure. We're essentially sartorial chiropractors.
I like that.
Can we call ourselves doctors as well?
I don't think it's even much of a stretch at this point.
The fabric doctors. Yes. I love that. Yeah, but those varying degrees. And I know it's confusing, but I think that people kind of knowing, all that goes into the price too. So, a made to measure garment is going to be less expensive than something where they're really tweaking that and making that versus a fully bespoke, handmade, the guys in the back smoking a cigarette, right? The old world tailoring, as I call it, there's a romance in that, but that, there's a price difference. And there's all can be great. I would say that too, even off the rack, it can be great with the right tailoring.
Well, and I think it's also about making the customer feel as comfortable as possible. That
I agree.
The experience, it's so clutch to this whole process.
I think one thing we do well is, we have all different folks. So we have people coming in for their first suit. We have people coming in for their wedding suit. We have people come in who they want to tell us how much they know about suiting. And so those are all different folks. Guy coming in, just graduated college. He's, young. He's in, pretty decent shape. Like, he probably doesn't need a bespoke suit.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he wants that. And if that's so, great. But I'm not, I think a made to measure is going to look great on him. And I think maybe start there. And we're going to advise that, or just be like, hey, look, what's your comprehension level here? Like, do you want to know all the nitty gritty details? Or no, I want a suit and I don't care about, I don't care.
Well, and inevitably as time goes on, perhaps that's their first foray into this, right? Is an off the rack or ready to wear piece. Then it's made to measure. Then hopefully, down the road, it's bespoke. And, I always think with a suit that it should fit more like a set of pajamas,
Yes.
as opposed to something that's so cumbersome that just collects dust in your closet. We want you to feel as ultimately as comfortable as possible. And I think that's something that we do very well, sort of bridging those gaps.
I agree.
Because whatever we create, we want people to wear. I think that's the biggest thing, is like, how can we get this that you're actually going to wear it, you're going to feel comfortable in it, and be able to own it too, because not everybody is instantly going to feel comfortable in a suit.
Definitely.
Yeah, you want it to be their favorite item in the closet for sure.
So as we talk about like custom suiting, you guys started from shirts, right, Brad?
That is correct. So the original OMJ, oldmasonjar.com, if you were to go there, there would be button-down shirts and ties and polos and T-shirts. There was no suiting, and really not much thought put into it ever being custom suiting.
Okay.
So,
And then there was that one New Year's party, right? The morning after, I believe.
yes, the morning. Oh, yes.
Oh, wait. Okay. I don't know
Yes,
this
this
story
is a
at all,
fantastic
so this
story.
is new to me.
All right. So, well, I'll first start with a bit, maybe this is a bit just how I am, but, you're putting all this time, you're creating this clothing company, and I'm very much all in with these things, right? So I'm still working at a bank. I still need to wear things other than just a button down. I actually do need things that are in the suiting range. So I had met with Tom James, which, shout out Tom James. We'll probably hit on them later when we're talking about different levels of competition and things like that. But, they came to the office, got some things which I needed. And I'll be honest, I felt like a fraud getting that. I'm like, if I'm in this industry, why am I buying this from somewhere else? So, and everything was fine. I know at that point I was very well versed in the fabrics, the fabric part of it, just through shirting. And so I knew what really quality fabric was. And I thought everything was appropriately priced. I mean, I'm not saying that, but I was like, hey, A, I should be doing this. And B, I know what the wholesale on this is. So, I should just do it myself.
Yeah.
Famous last words, right? But I started making pieces. So, finding factories. Fortunately, Felipe is a very good connector and magically can find not just a factory, but like one of the best factories, and then somehow convince them to work with us. But started on that journey, made a lot of really terrible fitting and suiting for myself and a handful of friends. And then, through working at a bank, people come up and asking, oh, that looks great. Where'd you get it? And then being able to, say, well, I actually, pseudo made it. And to see them, what? That's ridiculous, right? And so we kind of knew within that first year or two, like, hey, we probably need to pivot into this because there's a lot of demand. And I have to sell a lot of T-shirts to equal a custom suit. Like, I can sell one custom suit or 100 T-shirts, right? Or, you know what I'm saying? So I think that was kind of the aha moment too of, hey, we can be really good at this. We can offer something. We can kind of bring it into the OMJ brand, which is, is not a super stuffy brand. Think about, we're very vintage inspired. It's very customer experience focused. So we can just offer something new. It won't be the most expensive thing, but it won't be cheap either. So, we're kind of looking at this from that standpoint. And to move ahead to Will's point, this is interesting, and this will be a little inside baseball. We had just gone up to Biltmore for New Year's. This was, of course, pre-kids, back in the day. I think it was 2014. Yeah. And so we're driving home. It was, I never forget, my wife, Hannah, and Felipe. We're driving home from Asheville. And I'm like, guys, I think we really need to go into this custom suiting thing. And they were vehemently against it. I mean, I wish I could have recorded it. No, absolutely. Why would we do that? That sort of thing. And, I'm not used to like people being like, is something wrong with me? Like, am I the problem here? Why are they so against it? And then, so talking about it, and eventually, I was like, well, we're doing it. And that's the direction we're going to take. And we're going to go for it, and I get it. At the time, it's, we're already stretched thin resources. Felipe and I are both working other jobs. It's another thing, that's something, think about it from an outside perspective. It's a lot that goes into that. So they know all the work that's going to go into it, double, triple fold that took to even start the brand. So I get the reservation on that side. But it was a pivotal moment. It would have been very easy to say, you're right. Like the fear here of this is going to be a lot of work. But we wouldn't be a company today if we hadn't made that decision. So very impactful. I'll never forget that story. And they came around very quickly.
Okay, so I'm curious now, because this is the first time I've ever heard this story. What exactly was it that triggered driving back from, like, what did you see at the New Year's party? Or what did you what was the aha moment to say, I want to try to do this?
So to level, and good buddy, Ryan, his family is the Biltmore, went to college with him.
Lovely guy.
So he had invited us up to do New Year's at the Biltmore.
Okay.
And, it was a few other friends, but we went to dinner at the restaurant attached to the Biltmore. It was of a vibe, right?
Yeah.
So we're all dressed up in custom suits. Definitely some drinks had, and
a libation.
I would say Ryan is definitely a dandy. So he loves all things clothing. So he was excited.
Okay.
And then so I was excited. And then we were just talking about it all night long. How cool it would be. And we're watching fireworks, and we're at, the hotel, and it feels like, hey, I feel like it was a more attainable thing, I think, after that. Okay. Seeing kind of like it, other than just Brad sitting at his house, thinking about it. Yeah.
It's kind of like a Gatsby moment where like everything all comes together.
A literal Gatsby moment.
It was a literal Gatsby moment. I'm not. That's perfect.
Sorry, I'm a lit nerd.
and wouldn't you say as well, just sort of feed off of this Fitzgerald vibe, that, perhaps you had already put in so much homework at that point, and it had sort of culminated,
Sure.
Around, say, New Year's.
Yeah, by that time. So y'all may have heard me talk about the 10,000 hour rule. I go off on my tangent. So it's a practice that I heard first. Malcolm Gladwell, the book Outliers is where I first heard it. The concept is if you do something for 10,000 hours, you are going to be truly great at it. So in context, if you think of a 40-hour work week for a year, no vacation, and you do it for 40 hours straight. No, you're not taking coffee breaks, that sort of thing. You get a little bit under 2,100 hours in a year of work. So if you are doing something, how do you get to 10,000 hours? You do it steadily for 5 years, or you just really kill it for a few years. But there's all ways you can get there. But the important thing is that you get to that 10,000 hours, because if you get to that, you're truly an expert at it. It's interesting, and this is in the book, Tiger Woods got his 10,000 hours, I think, before he was like 9 years old, right? Not surprised, right? He's the best.
Savant status.
Yeah. The Beatles, before they were 20, they had 10,000 hours, playing in clubs and, hole in the wall and together. And so, there's a direct correlation of if you put in the time. And, people don't think about it. They think about the after. But Tiger Woods. Yes, he's naturally talented, but dude was an expert before he was 9 years old. And so for me, I kind of think about, I had done it. I had been doing it. I was ingrained in it, definitely spending more time than I should with it.
Yeah.
But making mistakes, working at this for hours and hours and hours. So I was on that path to 10,000 hours at that point by the time we had that. So yes, a lot of groundwork had been laid. But yeah, thanks for reminding me. And then by the time Will and I were meeting, I was well on the way.
Sure.
I would say, still hadn't hit my 10,000. And I think because Kenneth tried to calculate it for me, as Kenneth does. So I think, he kind of thought around 2018 is when I sort of had my 10,000 hours in the custom or / clothing arena.
Amazing.
So anyways, 10,000 hours, all you kids out there.
It's not just the instant gratification you're looking for here. You have to work at it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. One question I had, I thought I would pitch to you guys is, what do you see as like the benefits of custom suiting?
I think a big benefit for me, like being in this industry for a long time, is a lot of people off the rack, it's just not a good fit sometimes. And I think the difference in custom suiting is you really quite easily can get the fit that people need, because everyone comes in all shapes and sizes. And I think custom suiting is kind of that niche place where people that are not an off the rack fit, and like without tailoring, you're starting from the beginning of this is made for you. And I think that makes a difference, because you've got like athletes and you've got people that just don't have a certain shape that matches what your like standard fabric garment is for fitting. I think that's really important to go, we can fit everybody, because there's people like, whether it be size or just cut or like something on them may be larger than other things. And like everybody wants to be able to feel comfortable in what they're wearing. And I think customs really does that.
Nobody gets left behind.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, fit is key.
Yeah.
In fact, it might be the most operative of tasks with respect to custom. I will say as well, though, self-expression, individuality. I know for myself, kind of allows me to sort of flex my creative muscle.
Yeah.
And, the rewards from that, just pay dividends. The longevity that comes with a custom suit as well, I feel like it transcends trends, right?
Yeah.
How long have you had your? Well, Will keeps everything and takes very good care of his stuff.
Yes.
So we should quantify that. But yeah, how long have you had these pieces, and where would you say they rate compared to other garments that you've gotten?
Oh, I mean, with respect to OMJ. Second to none, honestly. I mean, I have my first suit from you, actually, that was made in 2015, and it looks just as good today as it did in 2015. In fact, I wore it on our first podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's just a testament to the craftsmanship and the quality. And, and back to the 10,000 hours. It's evident in the pieces we construct. And you can see it on the smiles of the faces of our clients. And that's what's truly rewarding for me is, someone tries on a garment and they get in front of the mirror and you can just see their entire facial expression change. There's nothing better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think working with those that they've never experienced that feel-good moment, whether it be weight or we've worked with a lot of, folks that have been in accidents or something. Maybe maybe they're paralyzed or they're an amputee. And those are my favorite, because to get them to where they feel better or they feel good finally in something, because they've never been able to wear a garment because of their prosthetic is true. And, all the things that we do to make that happen. So making the waistband more elastic right? But not look like an elastic waistband. Making the leg one side longer or bigger, these are things that, other companies either they're not going to take the time to do, it's not worth their time to do, or they're scared, quite frankly, to do it because they're not confident that they can actually get that done. So I 100%. I love that. In fact, and I had written down like just talking about like different materials and things like that. So, but I broke it down into 4 kind of things. And I don't know if you guys have heard of the, like, you can have it fast, cheap, well-made. So you got 3 options. You can only pick 2, right? So if you want it fast and cheap, it won't be well-made. If you want it well-made and fast, it is not going to be cheap.
Yeah.
So that kind of analogy, I think, is a great one here. But with custom suiting, I kind of put it as 4 quadrants. So you have your fit / your pattern, you have your materials, you have your design, and your experience, like customer experience, I think is so important with that. And so with a fit, obviously, there's a lot of places that can get your fit right. Pattern, that's going to be like with the fit, so the more abstract you are, I should say, not prototypical body type, that becomes harder to do. And then, I kind of look at it as like, if they're really good, if they're a really good brand / tailor, you're going to get 3 of those things. If they're great, you're going to get all 4. So that's how I look at it, those 4 quadrants. I thought we could just talk about some of those quadrants and then maybe even bring it back to like, obviously, I would say we're biased. We're going to do all 4, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. But, really breaking that down from a custom perspective. So I think we've talked a bit about, the fit and the pattern. I think we've covered that. That's going to be something that, if you're a 6 foot 180, you can walk into a store and get a 40 and look great. Okay. So there's a lot of places just by that, they can get your fit right. The design, I think that Will's alluding to, maybe touch a little bit on the different things that you can do with designing that.
Sure. I mean, you have myriad of options. One thing that we see with a lot of our custom pieces is we'll see an accent here on the buttonhole. So you could differentiate, colors and so forth as far as threads. As well, you've got your lining inside your jacket. You can personalize. You can add a monogram, perhaps. You can have a different lapel. Say I've got a peak lapel. You could have a notch lapel like you guys are wearing. Yeah. You can accessorize it in so many different ways as well with a lot of our accessories. Say if they're, if a client's interested in, say, a colorful pocket square.
Because I think that really hints is like the parts where you get to really make it your own. Because I think other things you're kind of limited. And I think we have a lot of choices, like even talking about the sleeve, like I have metal buttons on my jacket. Like these are the things that I wanted to change to make it kind of different to like suit me for like where I'm at today. But also like changing things later on. When you build more suits, you have those options too, because we change what we like also.
Sure. And I have so many clients say, well, I want to be able to wear black and brown shoes with this particular item. So I'll sort of steer them in the direction of, say, doing more of like a horn button, something that's kind of marbleized that might have some black and brown tones.
So you get that versatility.
Exactly.
I love that. Another key component is the materials. So this would also, so the two pieces, the inside the garment and outside the garment. But there are plenty of places that will do, it could fit well, but maybe the fabric that they're using isn't as high of a level of a fabric, or even the inner workings of a jacket, which, we're talking about half canvas versus full canvas and, what that is. And, these are all, again, these are definitely at more advanced level details, but, essentially how that jacket is constructed on the places that you can't see are going to be so key to it making it fit well. Is that canvas on the inside, which that's what's going to help give it the structure, help it mold to you? Does it extend into the lapel? So if you have a jacket, which if on camera, I'm folding my lapel over, I could wrinkle it up. And then if I let it go, it's going to pop back in place, natural roll, perfection. That is because the canvas is extended into the lapel. Also, is the canvas extending, if it's half canvas, which is a perfectly fine make, this is a half canvas jacket, is it extending below that first buttonhole? Yeah. If it's above, which is a shortcut, then where the wear and tear is not properly secure. A full jacket is going to be canvas all the way through. And so you're just going to get even more of a molded fit with that. And then it goes into like different fabrics, and we recommend different things, and some are better unstructured and things like that. But the material piece I want to hit on is like the mill. Yeah. This is where we get the fabric. So part of this is working with good factories. Part of it is having good relationships with these mills. If you're just starting, you can't just go work with Loro Piana or Zegna, or even like Vitelli Barberis or Reda, or Vitelli Barberis is VBC, Drago. These are all world-renowned fabrics that are the top level fabrics. You have your Loro Piana and your Zegna. That's your Rolls Royce. You have your, Italian and English mills, great. There's definitely other mills outside of those two countries that are great as well. We kind of, I think, are a little more biased on the Italian mill side. I have plenty of tailors that love the English mill side.
We do like a soft shoulder.
We do like a soft, yes. But that is so important in the construction, because you could have the best pattern, but if you're not using a great cloth or great materials on the inside, it's really not going to matter. And so that kind of covers the fit pattern, the design and originality, and then the materials. And the last thing I would say is the customer experience. So this is something that is, as we evolve, so much more is coming online. I've had a lot of folks, without really knowing, I've really we've all really studied like customer retail experience is where things are going for niche businesses, because you can't get that customer experience online. Yeah. That brand could have expert pattern maker, all the best materials. You can choose any of the design, and they may be a good brand, but they can't have that level of customer experience. They're online. It's really hard to do. And no matter how perfect we make a garment for 9 out of 10 people, there's always going to be things that happen with a garment that, I was trying to add it up. You have the measurement piece. So, it comes in, does it fit? We take like 35 different measurements, right? And not to mention all the things that we do from a posture standpoint. So then you go into the design. How many design things can you change? So many. I mean, you're looking at, the amount of variations could be really limitless, honestly. So that also means opportunity for mistakes. So that's mistakes. We're human on our end, putting it in, mistakes on the factory. That's why you want good factories. Are they putting that order in correctly? Are they doing that stitch the right color? Did they incorporate that shoulder slope? So the point is, no matter what, it's never going to be 100% perfect 100% of the time. It's not possible with the human element to it. And oh, by the way, you need the human element, because that's the only way you're going to get that dad and the son who have the same measurements into a properly fitting garment. Computer's not going to be able to tell you that. But the customer experience is when they come in and it is something wrong, and then taking care of that and saying, no worries, we got you. Or, hey, you need this in 2 days. We're going to rush that alteration for you. We're going to fix that for you. And so my common saying is, I cannot guarantee when that garment comes in that it is going to be 100% perfect. I can't, nobody can. But what we can guarantee is that we will make it perfect. So we will do whatever we need to do, from remaking it to recutting it to getting it rushed to Brad, making a special delivery himself. Like, we're going to make that garment and that experience as perfect as possible.
But I think that's what stands out about And I feel as though when I came here, that's what I thought kind of stood out is the customer experience and going over and beyond, and kind of that it's a small business, but at the same time, you guys are having big impacts. And I think that's really great because even seeing some of the fabrics, like when I first came here, I wasn't expecting to see Loro Piana in here. And in seeing
Surprise.
that, yeah, exactly. It's here, but like we cater to all income levels.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Because, everybody's not there, and that's fine. But I think it's really, you're still going to look great in whatever fabric you choose.
I'll brag on you guys too, because there's an art to, from a sales perspective, knowing, hey, this person that came in, I don't want to preconceive or judge on what fabric they want to be in, right? There is an art to, if I show them Loro Piana, they're going to fall out of their seat. Or if I don't show them Loro Piana, they're going to be offended, right?
Right.
So you guys are so good at recommending those right fabrics by that person just by your interaction in a completely, in a complete way that is in flow with that appointment.
Sure, there's some intuition involved.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think maybe get to have a little bit of fun. We get into some different trends that we're seeing. These can be good and bad. I'm dying to make fun of something, right?
It's Friday after all.
What are some like trends you're seeing in the custom clothing greater business?
I'm hesitant to say it because I feel like if I bring it into the world, it will come up. I'm starting to see single pleat pants come back, and I am just a personal thing with me. This is how I started in this business, and seeing the wide leg pants and the vest and the 3-piece suits, they are coming back.
Oh, it is here.
And it's hard. Like, I have nothing against it. I think it's great. It's just of how many I used to do back in the day of like single pleats and double pleated pants. It's just, I've been doing this a very long time, and I'm just, wow, it really did come back. So
I personally like a single pleat.
Yeah.
And
I
I
think
like a cuff as well.
And it came back as a fashion forward thing. In lieu of it, when you were working with it, it was a very like...
it was fashion, but like it was a different type of fashion.
It,
like
it was associated more with like dad fashion.
Well, yeah, or just like a wide leg style. Like it looked different. Like when you do it a single pleat, it's not wide leg. So
Right.
I'm okay with that, but like just to see it, and even seeing the wide legs, like in the award ceremonies and things like that, the wide legs were very, very present. And I was like, am I ready for this?
The 90s are definitely having a comeback.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
hard. Like, but whether we like it or not is here. So that's my thing with the fashion of what's coming.
Yeah, to speak to what you've just mentioned, I'm seeing a lot more vests as well.
Yeah.
So vests, some cuffs, pleats, more of a classic fit.
Done right, the right fit and pattern. And that person has the personality and confidence to pull that off. It does look great. I see guys on Instagram. I'm like, their pants are up to their navel, right under their chest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Super high waisted. Their tie, they could tuck their tie in just because the waist is so high. They're wide, but they look great. They really look great. And I'm like, I can't pull that off, maybe
in due time.
It's just not me, but I think they look great. But I think designing that pattern is a very different pattern than, we won't even get into like denim. That's a totally different pattern too. And those are all different, things with custom where you can build that. So I appreciate that creative ingenuity if it's made well for that person and they are confident to pull that off. I think it looks great, It's hard to get. It's hard to get that though. There's a fine line in, who are some of these guys like wearing stuff at the award show that are just completely, oversized, and having that look good, have it look of a purpose.
So I often think of Lewis Hamilton.
Oh yes, because he pushes
Always
the boundaries.
Totally in a bigger fit, and
he's like his height too, but it looks great on him.
It looks fantastic.
But it's also because it's Lewis Hamilton, so it's
true. Very true.
That too.
Very true. But he pulls it off well.
Right.
He does a lot of like jewelry too.
He does.
Which I think is something we talked about too, is like the lapel pins and things like that are coming back in also.
Sure. That's a great trend. Jewelry on the, again, it is not my style, but I think guys that do it, they look great.
Yeah.
A lot of bracelets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
They do. They look really good. It's not me, but I applaud. I mean, yeah.
Because I think it's kind of fun that people can bring their elements of like who they are into their fashion that they're kind of doing and making it their own.
Sure. And ultimately, custom is really about the individual, you know, and so it really caters to putting your own spin on things. And it makes it fun for us too.
Yeah. I think too, like just kind of when people come in, sometimes I don't know if they realize what they're kind of getting into. It's kind of like this magical thing that like, we're doing this, we're showing you these things. But I think when they really go through the process, they're like, oh, you guys are really doing a lot. Like, because they're not used to people doing as many measurements as we do, or taking photos and really taking the time to be like, this is what this looks like. Or I know you picked this, but this is what this is going to look like in this light. And I think it's nice that we go through all those things because it helps us get to know the client. But that next time they come in, it makes it even easier that we know what's in their wardrobe. We know what they have or what they purchased from us last time, and we can just add on and build.
Sure. And I've heard from so many clients that have gone to other clothiers and have said that the experience just didn't, compare to what we've offered and what we still offer, obviously, and continue to offer here at OMJ. To me, that's probably, the number one asset that we have is the experience that we provide. Yes, we've got the detail, we've done the homework, we, can cater to any sort of, proclivity when it comes to fashion, but providing an experience that, is ultimately comfortable to the client is number one.
Mm-hmm.
Agree.
And I think there's a human touch to it.
Yeah.
Which we've seen with technology a lot, that some things are getting a little different of how they do things too.
AI.
Body scanners. Love a body scanner. It's funny because there was a period of time where the tech industry was trying to get into clothing. Mm-hmm. And it sounded so good on the surface. You take this picture, it'll take your measurements, and it can make you a garment. Pretty much all of those companies are gone. And the body scanner itself, it will take your measurements, but it's funny because it's really just for show, right? There were companies that they touted that at first, but they sort of just do it for show now because it will give you the measurements. But, people often ask me, well, how do you make a fit for somebody? And there's a formula to it. So I think, again, I'm a numbers guy, I'm a math guy, as well as love the creative side. But the missing variant when you're constructing a fit for somebody and a pattern for somebody is fit preference. Yeah. And so if you were to write this equation on a board, you have measurements, times MC squared. No, I'm just, but you have your fit preference as your variable there.
Yeah.
And that's what a body scanner can't tell you. I mean, you can tell it, oh, I like it slim fit. What is slim fit? Or I might like it slim fit, but I've got, bigger junk in the trunk, right? So I might like it slim fit everywhere except the seat of my pants. Yeah. And so I think where you get into, you have to have that knowledge of incorporating that fit preference. I use the reference of a dad and his son. We see this all the time. They come in, they're literally the same height and weight. But if I gave that dad the pattern of his son, he would walk out of the store immediately. And then if I gave the son his dad's jacket, he would feel like he was swimming in it. Yeah. It's just something that you need. It's the art and the science that goes into it. The art of that person measuring, talking to the client while you're measuring. That's how you're getting a feel for what their fit preference is, what they like, how they like it to fit. As you talk to them, you learn about them. And so, a body scanner can have a conversation with you. and it can't tell you all those things about how they want it to fit. So there's my body scanner rant. If somebody's touting a body scanner for you, it should be complimentary, not the sole basis. Yeah. And to be, you know, on a positive note, I think it's great. Like if we have people who are out of town, you know, we have them take a picture and I can actually throw it in a body scanner and confirm measurements and then look at the picture and look at their height, their age, their weight, and get a feel, maybe talk to them on the phone for a little bit and get a feel for their fit preference. So it can be complimentary. Any quick, like, I think, you know, we get a lot of questions. There's so many nuances to this, you know, how do I dry clean it? You know, or how do I clean it? I should say, we could talk about dry cleaning. Don't dry clean it is what we say.
Sure.
Press only.
Or a nice steam.
Yeah.
A nice steam. Unless you like spill red wine on it, do not need to take it to get dry clean. Dry clean is going to have chemicals. These, especially if it's one of our fabrics, it's going to be high quality, high thread count. So you could damage that fabric. And we know plenty of people that have had that happen. And also wool. A lot of our garments are predominantly wool. Wool is naturally cleaning, naturally antimicrobial. You just hang it up. It will self-clean. A lot of people don't know that.
And usually the wrinkles just fall out.
They fall out. If you're using great materials on the inside, those are also natural materials. And so they are naturally going to self-clean. You don't need to put chemicals on it. If you want it pressed, great. Be careful with your dry cleaners, folks.
I think, too, like you said, hanging it up, you'd be surprised. Like, things look a certain way because they didn't get hung up in the first place.
Take a shower with it. Not literally, but have it outside the shower.
We cannot be your mother.
Yeah, I feel like hanging things up is really, like, beneficial to garments.
How many people do we say, you know, they'll call, where should I take it? We say, just bring it here.
Yeah.
Also, if we say that, we may not have trust that just bring it to us. We will get it back in proper shape for you. I'd much rather do that than have a dry cleaner mess it up.
And I think a lot of people ask, like, if I purchase a suit, how long will it last? Is a big one.
Right.
That's a great question.
And how trends will impact perhaps
right.
what they purchase as well. That's a question that I get quite often.
Very subjective, obviously.
Yeah.
If you take care of your garment, it will last forever, right? If you don't fluctuate in your weight, it will last forever. Any garment we make is going to last. Again, I can't, if you snag it on something on a plane, you know, I
wrestling at a wedding.
Wrestling at a wedding. Yeah. But how many of those do they bring in and we fix it up?
We fix it up. Yeah.
You know?
We've seen a few blown seats.
Yes.
From like dancing or whatever.
Exactly.
Shout out to Sierra in the back. Fix some seams that have been blown out.
Yeah.
Tailor extraordinaire.
Yep. Yeah. So I think that, what about, you know, one thing I get is, how long does a custom suit take?
So you're roughly looking at about 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Upwards of maybe 8 weeks max.
Obviously, the more handmade, bespoke component to it.
There's some more timing that goes.
There's more timing to it. Can we rush?
We can rush.
And what is Brad's philosophy versus how often do I make you guys nervous?
I mean, we'll get it.
One way or another.
Like, yeah. No, but I think it's important, like, because I think sometimes people think they don't have enough time. Or they're like, because they understand the concept that it takes some time. But I think we've done magic a lot of the time of getting things very, very quickly.
Sure. And we prefer an appointment. However, if you were to walk in and we have the time, we're going to make more time for you.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, I think we've gotten a suit from overseas in 5 or 6 days before. Factory was not happy with me at all. But thank you, factory, for getting that done for us.
And customers don't forget that.
No, they don't.
They ultimately come back.
Yeah, I think what we do is we really decrease the box that they can do. So, all right, all these fabrics are out. You can work within these fabrics. And maybe it is more of if they have a pattern on file, it's not a problem, but maybe it is more of a made to measure that they're going to have to do.
Yeah.
You know, if the pattern's already made, we can get it much quicker. But, you know, and then, sorry to get this quickly. This cannot be completely handmade. Yeah. Any other questions?
I think price point, like
Yeah.
when we're going through, because I think sometimes we talk about the fit and the pattern and the design, and like price sometimes is the last thing. But I
Right.
think having a nice idea, because it can really go a lot of different ways.
So this is probably good because this is also going to vary.
Yeah.
You know, there's plenty of places, you know, you can go and get a, you know, custom suit, quote unquote, or made to measure. You know, think of like Indochino, for example, and the price may be sub $600. And I want to be very clear, like, there's no shade. That's in some folks' budget.
Mhm.
And oh, by the way, you know, if you looked at the 4-part spectrum, the fit pattern or fit / pattern, design, materials, and experience, you're going to get a good material. They only use good materials. Can't always speak for all the other pieces, you know, but I always say, like, that's going to be a sub $600. And again, if you're fairly standard build, then it probably will fit well too. And so, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I think where you get into like a next level suit, you're looking at over $1,000. I mean, that's where our suits are going to start. Again, look, we're a small business. We're not going to be the cheapest people around, you know, but also depending on the material and the type of, you know, are you having it fully handmade in Italy? That's going to add up. And so if you're getting a Loro Piana suit and, you know, you're looking at over $3,000, right? So it's all relative. And then also, but if you were to go into the Loro Piana store and buy something off the rack, not even custom, you're going to pay more than you would pay getting a custom Loro Piana suit here with us. So, you know, I would say there's a value there too. But again, it's all relative. So there's no value to the person who can only afford the $500 suit. I totally get that. But, you know, it's all relative, and you can find great suit. There's a lot of places that make custom suits.
There are a lot of places
Yes.
that make custom.
I'm happy. Yeah. I know we talk about them internally. We have nothing but good things to say all the time. But there are a lot of competitors, local, national.
What are your thoughts on some of the
maybe we do
competitors?
like a rapid fire. Maybe I'll be nice. And actually, I will say this. Everywhere has its unique perspective.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And admittedly, there's things like other places are better at for a certain type of client, right?
Mhm. Like, say, Tom James, I mean, they'll come to wherever you are.
Tom James, great example. Yeah. And I know I mentioned them earlier.
They're in the office.
Yeah.
And shout out, buddy I went to school with. He was a few years older than me, Adam. He's been there forever. He's a great guy. He's going to take care of his clients. But it is a different model and probably a different customer, right?
Yeah.
They don't have time. They want you to come, you know, Tom James will go to you and, you know, they will. And so for the person who's like, I just need suits and I'm limited on time, and it's great. You know, you may not have as many options to pick from. It may not be as fully bespoke or customized, or, you know, the person measuring you may not be in it for as long as, you know, a more brick and mortar local tailor shop would be. But they do a great job and they serve a lot of clients really well.
Any others?
I mean, you know, there's lots.
Well, you've mentioned Indochino, of course.
Indochino, you're going to get a good fabric, but the person measuring you may have started working there 2 weeks ago. You know, they're not going to tell you that.
Yeah.
Everybody that measures here has either been doing it for at least a year, or there's somebody shadowing that appointment that has been measuring for a year or more. So, you know, I'm very particular. I don't just let people measure until they've been doing it for a long time. So it is very important to have somebody know what they're doing. So if you walked into an Indochino, and I always ask them, how long have you been here? How long have you worked here? If they say, oh, just started recently, or they're, you know, unless they've been like, I've been here for a year and a half, just be cautious.
Yeah. And
on the
it's
measurements.
essentially a chain too.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
National chain. So I can't fault them. I mean, it's hard to hire. It's hard to find people that are good. Lord knows we've had our share of, you know, things that just didn't work out. So yeah, but it serves a great purpose.
Yeah.
Now, I know that there's another competitor saying Stitch by Mitch.
Right. So Mitch, you know, I will say this. So I mentored Mitch for quite a few years, both App State, and I love his passion and man, he gets after it. And he's a hustler. And so I give him all the kudos. I mean, he'll fly to Seattle for a client like this afternoon.
Yeah.
You know, I can't do that or wouldn't do that. And so I give him many props. Mentoring Mitch was great. Hopefully I imparted a lot of wisdom for him. And, you know, ultimately his style is going to be different than the OMJ style. And he's going to serve maybe a different client than the OMJ client. So there's room for all of us. You know, I look at, like, I'll give a shout out to Abbeydale, David Watkins. So David's been doing this longer than I have, for several years longer. In fact, I would get David's advice all the time when I first started. And he's always been incredibly kind and incredibly helpful for us. Same thing would be like a TRC. You know, these people know what they're doing. They've been doing it a long time, you know, so you can't go wrong with them. I don't know much about Hive and Colony. I think it's a bit more of, you know, it's more of a vibe of, if you think like Miami, they may not say that. That's just the vibe I get. You know, I can't speak to that. I'm sure they do a great job, but, you know, you kind of want to go to a place that you sort of mesh with their vibe, right? If you love sort of that aspect and you feel of a vibe with the place you're going to, by all means, you may get along really well. I use Bruce Julian as a great example. He's far more eclectic than we are. We have clients, they love that. They're not going to see whimsical paisley jackets hanging around our store. And they get a great experience with Bruce and his staff. So there's no ill will for any of these places. They all serve a purpose. You know, again, if you looked at the four-prong or four-part approach to what makes a great custom suiting company, I think all of those are, you know, in that they do some of those things well, you know, sure, so you can't go wrong. I would also say, you know, here in Charlotte, you know, my take has always been, at least attempt, it doesn't always work out this way, but to be a helpful resource across the board, right? So all rising tides lift all ships. I decided early on, I would rather be the company that other companies can come to for help. You need a suit in 6 days, we got you. You need a suit for, you know, 4-year-old kid, we got you. You need a suit for somebody, you know, maybe your program sizing doesn't go up high enough. Maybe you have, you know, not everybody does women. Yep. I want to be a helpful resource for my counterparts, you know. And so I think once we reached the level where we had quote unquote competitors say, hey, Brad, can you help me with this? I kind of knew like, hey, we're all in this together and, you know, we can all be helpful and together. And, you know, if I can help people more than they help me, then, you know, I feel good about that. I like that.
And to toot our own horn, it doesn't hurt when Garden and Gun awards you with the best sport coat in the South.
Well, that is very helpful, especially we have a large contingent. I would say that serves an audience. I could sit here and talk all day long, but until they read about us in a magazine, they want nothing to do with us. Totally get it. That was very helpful. That has been helpful. Again, that was, 2018 is when we won that award. And so that was real. I mean, honestly, it was sort of like rocket ship for growth after that.
And then we get the eyes of Tabor on us as well.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
As a local.
But I mean, that's Tabor. A lot about the teamwork too. I think that like when you build a community, because we're all kind of doing the same thing. And sometimes we've been able to provide something they were not able to do, but they literally send people to us. I think that's kind of the ability, like if we all work together.
Sure. Because
we have the same goal at the end of the day to make Charlotte as a community dress well and feel good about themselves. And that is what everyone's trying to do.
Sure. And we have such a good community at OMJ as well. I mean, such a testament to Brad's leadership.
Yeah.
Definitely. We all really want to, wear as many hats as possible, so that, where there are times where one person is needed for, say, one facet of the business, the other can take over. And we're all in it together.
A team, let me tell you, a team is huge. And so, with custom, especially, there have been times when it was just myself and Felipe. And it's a lot, it's a lot of coordinating. It's a lot of being completely organized and making sure all of these things are taken care of. So to have a team is so important and impactful, and it lets everybody do the things they do well, and us not drop the ball on anything. So I'm very proud of the team that we've built. Everybody serves a purpose. It's all so influential in how we do things at OMJ. Yeah. All right, guys, this has been fabulous. A little custom 101 for all the folks.
Stupendous of you.
Yeah.
I cannot. Yeah, no, I can't.
But when you do, you immediately will tap into that rapport that you established here, which is often fun. So,
but I'm like, I never see them in the suit.
You just have to get out there.
Instagram.
Yeah, like following people on Instagram. But I think that's the nice thing, that people show you like photos and things like that so you can see them.
Sure.
Which is fun. But yeah, I think it's kind of hard to see people in suits lately.
You got to get out more, Kendra.
Yes, but it could be like we're in the land of Patagonia, and that's all I see.
We'll get them one by one.
We can upgrade them, that's for sure.
All right. Thanks.